Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for voting on Instagram. I wasn't sure what to film today. I had a kind of slow morning and you guys said that I should do a video kind of talking about what I've been reading lately. And so I'm going to chat about that. I bought a couple of new books the other day, which I did share on Instagram on my stories, but I'm going to show you guys because I've started one of them. I also have just read a couple of books recently that I really want to share with you guys, and then just look at some of the things I'm going to be reading, hopefully, in the next few weeks and months. So I've mentioned about reading before. I used to be a really huge lover of reading books. You'd always find me up late reading books. As a child, I was just obsessed with reading. Presents always included books. My mum loves to read too, and so me and my brother and my mum used to love reading. As I got older though, and I think as I got more into technology, I stopped reading so much, and especially when I got to uni, I spent most of my time reading journals and textbooks and stuff like that rather than reading for leisure. And I kind of just stopped reading entirely. I mean, I won't say it's totally true, but it's probably doing like one book of leisure a year or something. And when I started to study with Bible college, I started reading the books that were related to what I was studying and my Bible more. So I'm super grateful that I've been reading my Bible more, but I really wanted to get back into just reading for enjoyment and finding books and reading about them that are not necessarily textbooks and stuff like that. So this year, I guess, in a way, I've managed to kick that off and really make it kind of form into a new habit and enjoy it. And so I'm going to share with you what I've been reading lately. So the first thing of note is this book right here called Smuggler. This book you can get for free, I still believe, from Open Doors. This is the story about the founder, brother Andrew. His story about 60 years ago, about where he goes around, traveling around Europe, telling people about Christ, helping churches who were under communist rule, and he was smuggling Bibles. And this talks a lot about it. So he was a missionary, and it gives you the kind of background and founding to what Open Doors does now, working with the persecuted church. He started a ton of work with persecuted churches in Europe, and the book was amazing. I was so inspired. For example, a really exciting moment, I guess, in the book is when they are crossing a border and there are soldiers there, and he has the car filled with Bibles. And he has a couple Bibles next to him on the chair. And he says that in the Bible, it says that God can open the eyes of the blind. But he said, in this situation, can you close their eyes? Don't let them see it. And they go through his whole car, and somehow they don't manage to see the Bibles. And he gets across the border and he can give them to people who really need them. And that was just an amazing moment. This book is full of amazing moments. It's such an amazing story. So I highly encourage you to read it. It definitely continues to just fuel my love for learning more about what church is like around the world, and the heart that I am having for the persecuted church, because it's something really important as Christians, especially if we're in a more privileged position, to make ourselves aware of what's going on around the world and how we can help out. And so I really love reading this. I recently won this and a t-shirt, which I have worn, so it's in the wash right now. A new copy, and I'm definitely going to be giving that copy away to someone when I'm out of this lockdown right now that I'm in currently. When that's over, I'll definitely be passing on to someone to read, because it's a must read. Okay, so then the next book I read after that kind of follows the theme, because it is this book. I picked this book up, Amazing Love, a while ago. I want to say it was last year, either in like January, February, or I even bought it in 2019. One of those times. There is a local Christian bookshop, and that's where I picked it up. I was buying a bunch of other things, and this happened to be on one of the tables near the till, and it just really interested me because this is a book written by Corrie ten Boom, and they're stories of kind of forgiveness and people coming to Christ and conversations that she has with people. And the conversations were eye-opening, they were provoking, they were inspiring. Again, her story is so inspiring. I watched the movie The Hiding Place, which is about Corrie ten Boom and her family. It's true. I watched that quite a few years ago, and I had kind of forgotten about her and her story. But she is an amazing woman, and I highly encourage you to check it out. I'm actually going to leave a link to a podcast that talks about Corrie ten Boom's life, which I absolutely love. They talk about it in such a wonderful way, and the person doing the podcast, one of the ladies, actually had met her. So that was really interesting. But I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and it gave me a lot of perspective when I think I might have mentioned it in my last video, I'm not 100% sure, but I was talking about how you can have like a block between yourself and God, and she talks a lot about being careful that you haven't let evil kind of get in, and thinking about in your life, did you ever do anything like a tarot reading, like I can't even think because I've never done it myself, but you know, things that kind of go along with dark and evil, maybe something to do with witches. People always think that, like in movies, I really avoid watching movies that have anything to do with like a Ouija board, because they are things that we should not be dealing in. We forget, I think, that the spiritual world is very, very real and evident, and she talks in the book about, to this one person, about, you know, maybe the reason you can't commit to Christ is because you've had some kind of encounter with you know, spirits, and that is blocking you. And she goes back kind of through her life and realizes she's been to someone and had a tarot reading and stuff, and that is where she needed that freedom from the spirits. She needed God to break those chains for her, and it was just really eye-opening. So this book has been really, really interesting. I only took me a couple of days to finish it, which honestly was amazing, because the fact that I've had a lot of trouble reading lately, a lot of trouble concentrating and understanding what I'm reading, it usually takes me a really long time. I don't know, this was such a good read. It's been a great introduction to get back into reading, and I do think God blessed me to be able to keep reading it. So those are two books that I have finished. I also have to mention, of course, my Bible. I finished reading Jeremiah recently, and I've been reading Isaiah. It can be a lot harder, I think, to read the Old Testament than the New Testament. My journey that I'm on, I guess, currently is I'm really trying to read the entire Bible. I've never read it from cover to cover, but I have read a lot of it at this point in my life. So last year in 2020, I can't remember when I started. I feel like it was probably towards the second half of 2020. I decided I wanted to read it cover to cover, and I read the New Testament barring Revelations at the time, because I have read Revelations before, but I have another book that relates to that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I didn't read Revelations this time around, but now I'm working through the Old Testament, and at the moment I've read from, basically, if you want to look at the entire Bible, I read from Jeremiah up until 3 John. That's how far I've read. So I haven't read anything from Genesis to, well, I'm in Isaiah right now, so Genesis to Isaiah I haven't read this year. I have read much of the Old Testament books before, but I've never read it just like cover to cover all the way, and so that's what I'm doing right now. And so yeah, right now I'm in Isaiah. You may notice I'm working through it a little bit backwards. I just decided that I wanted to read it in that order this time. I have no particular reason, but that's just the way I've been reading it, and I've been enjoying doing so. So yeah, I'm currently reading Isaiah, and I encourage you to pick a book and persevere with it and read it, because the Old Testament can be hard and it can be a bit less understandable, but pray for God for wisdom. Stick with it. There are so many books in the Old Testament that I absolutely adore, and there will be some that I will find a lot harder to read, but persevere. Jeremiah was super enjoyable but quite hard for me to read and understand sometimes, but I'm really glad I kept going. Okay, now I might as well talk to you about the Revelation book. So I have next to me actually the basket that I have talked about before, and I popped them in here. There they are at the back. So I have this book. I haven't read it yet, and this is a what do I want to call it? It's a devotional kind of study. It kind of helps you to understand when you're reading Revelations. I did something like this before, like once before, and I did something when I was at uni. We went through Revelations, and so I have been through it with teaching, because it's quite hard to read it without any teaching or without any explanation. but I can't really remember a ton of it, and I wanted to read it again, but I wanted to do it through having a guide so I could really take as much out of it as possible. And I just happened to be looking through my emails the other day, and there was a deal for this book, and so I grabbed this one, and so I'm hoping to look at it soon, but at the moment I'm working through reading Isaiah, and I have another book that I'm doing something with, and so I want to wait so that I can fully give my attention to Revelation. But the reason I bought this book is because it also came with this, which is a scripture journal, and so it has the actual scripture of Revelations and then space for your notes. And so this is a great companion book because this is devotional, and then you've also got notes to write next to the entire book of Revelation. And it's really funny because I follow on Instagram Messy Bible Pure Heart, and she just shared that her husband just bought the New Testament, like this, scripture journals of the entire New Testament. I'm not sure if it's by the same company or not. I didn't look close enough to know if it was the exact same company when she put it up on her story, but I thought how interesting that I had just got a scripture journal and he bought one for the whole of the New Testament. So I'll see how much I enjoy it, because that would definitely be something that would interest me, because I do like writing in this one. I don't know if I've shown you guys anything before. I haven't written in all of it. I don't necessarily write in it how maybe a lot of people do, with highlighting and drawing, or a lot of people can even paint. They paint inside their journaling Bibles. I use mine, I guess, for different reasons. So, like, for example, I just wrote a few notes next to it. I am a child of God. Sometimes I'll put statements, I underline things, and I use this a lot when there are sermons. I have in here kind of the names of the preacher, the date, and what their sermon was about, correlating to certain verses. And it's really interesting because the other day someone did a sermon and I looked back and I had heard 3 different sermons on that passage, and they all pulled out something different. So that was really fun. But it would be cool to have a separate book to write a ton of stuff, where I don't like to write a ton of stuff in my Bible. So yeah, that's cool. And now on to current things I'm reading. So the other book that I bought along with the Revelation devotional and journal book is this book, Praying the Attributes of God. Again, this one came up along with these in my email, and this one was, I think, what really caught my eye. You guys know, I guess I've spoken about this before, I'm really interested in learning more about the character of God, his attributes. She also has written a book called Praying the Names of God, which I think I probably will buy after this, because you guys also know I've been loving that too. And something that in most recent times I've been looking at doing is praying in scripture. I'm just really keen on learning about prayer, how we can pray, different ways to pray, how we can like deepen our relationship with God through prayer and conversation with him. I'm just loving it, and it's so funny because I always thought prayer was not my strong point. Like, I was never going to be big into prayer. Like, oh, some people are prayer warriors, but not all of us. And honestly, prayer has been a life-changing thing for me. I'm currently working on sorting some stuff out I want to share with you guys soon about prayer, that I'm going to be kind of changing my prayer life up, I guess, a little bit, because I can see how powerful prayer is and I just want to pray more. So yeah, this book I got because I thought it would be so interesting to learn about more attributes of God and then to bring them into my prayer life. And so this is a devotional book. You start on Monday and you kind of have the devotional content, the explanation of the attribute that you're looking at. So I'm on the very first week and we're looking at love, that God is a loving God. And then you go through Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday with some kind of guided stuff, and then on Friday, and then the weekend is kind of free. They give you passages that you could look up, and then you kind of just start implementing it into your prayer life. And so I think there are 17 words, which means it's going to be about 17 weeks, which is why I don't want to start anything else, because when you're reading the word and studying the word and you're reading a book that's also kind of teaching you something, I think there's only so much your brain can handle, and so, well, there's only so much mind can handle, and so I don't want to do too much, but I just couldn't stop myself from getting into this book, and I've already enjoyed it so much. So yeah, I will let you guys know how it goes. And then another book that I'm reading at the moment is this book, which is called The Day Is Yours. This book is a book that I was given to do with my studies, and so I'm going to try and show y'all. Up there, you can see, I have a bunch of books. On this shelf here is predominantly all books that I was given by a lovely person at a local church who used to be a lecturer, and he has so many books in his collection, and he actually gave me the majority of the books that I used to study throughout the entire 3 years that I was studying. So that's just a godsend. And there's a ton of books that I didn't read because during my studying time, there were just certain books that I ended up not needing. I think I did a different module at one point, but because of the pandemic and because of life, he actually moved really far away, and I haven't been able to give the books back, and I won't be able to give them back for still a little bit of time. And so I realised, like, I was going to make a list and just kind of write it down and then buy some of the books and then just kind of have note of the books I had at one time that maybe I would want in the future. But then I realised, you know what, I should really just start reading them so that I can actually enjoy them while I have them. And so I picked this one, and I'm really glad I did, because it's talking about really being slower in your day. It's going to be talking about the Sabbath day, and it's just been really good. I've really only just got into it. But yeah, this one's really interesting. But I don't know how long it will take me since I'm reading all these other books too. But yeah, I'm kind of out of breath. I get really excited sometimes in these videos. But yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. And when I finish that, I'll probably be picking out something else from that shelf if I don't see anything else that I want to buy in the meantime. But yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. What are you guys reading? What has been a really interesting book that you've read? Whether it be a study book or whether it be for leisure, let me know what you've been reading, or let me know what you've been listening to. I also really like podcasts. The podcast I was saying about Corrie Ten Boom, I've been enjoying. I found that recently. I also have listened to a couple of podcasts. I'm going to link them below. One is another Christian author. She puts out some of her Christian fiction books, so they're really interesting too, because they're just it's fiction but it's Christian based. I've enjoyed listening to that. And oh, there's a baby fly. I have a little rose bush and it has flies, and I did buy a spray for it, but I still get a few flies here and there. I'm trying to learn how to look after and love plants. I'm going to show you them in a second because I have a couple to be very thankful for. But yeah, sorry for the fly. What was I saying now? Yes, and then another podcast I really like is Academy Days, which is another Christian fiction kind of book that the person is releasing in podcast episodes. And yeah, I've enjoyed listening to that too. Okay, let me show you guys the plants for a second because I just really want to do that. You guys are on this giant tripod that my brother very kindly gave me. But we gotta like swing all the way over here. Oh, excuse the bin. So here is my rose bush, which doesn't have any roses in it right now, but I think it's doing pretty well because it's got new leaves. And you guys have seen this flit around my room. I've just tied up my daughter You're a Star thing that my mum gave me up here. And then here is my gorgeous orchid, which is in bloom. I am so excited that this is in bloom. I've never been able to keep a plant alive, and I was given this for my birthday. I've talked about it in multiple videos, but look guys, I kept it alive. It's reblooming. So yeah, I'm so stoked about that. And then I have a new little friend over here. This is an aloe vera plant that was very kindly given to me by the same person who gifted me this for my birthday. They grew this aloe vera plant from a seed and then gifted it to me at this stage to look after it and keep it and care for it at home, and I just think that's so awesome. And I'm super grateful for it. Alright guys, I will see you on Sunday, hopefully for a Bible with Bex or some kind of biblical based video. Take care you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye!